So now getting into more of the project. I guess I'll just say, any questions on that at all? But there's kind of my primer on how we develop TIPs. So now getting into the different projects. We don't really have specific slides on this, but we are citywide projects, so we have our local street improvements. This list, Digby Road, 15th, in front of the hospital, and then what I call the road surrounding the library. These are going to be our paving program for next year. And on Kincaid, we'll go from First all the way to Third and refurbish Kincaid Street in front. And then we have our typical citywide maintenance. In our sidewalk gap program and ADA program, we typically roll up into those sections of sidewalk and ramps improvements that coincide with our paving program. But this next year coming up, one of the things we're going to be doing that's key is finalizing our ADA transition program, which will give us more of a priority array, if you will, into specific sidewalk gaps and ADA transition elements, beyond just what we do with paving. So running down the different 6-year TIP projects, those top projects we have are the Library Commons projects for what we call the regional transportation supporting elements. So this is about half of the Library Commons project. Again, it's a multi-use infrastructure. The regional transportation elements we have on here are, we're expanding the downtown parking, of course, but also the EV charging stations, and that capability we're bringing to the facility so close to I-5. And the other piece of it is its support as a park and ride for Skagit Station, because Skagit Station, of course, provides Skagit Transit, Greyhound bus service, and Amtrak as well. And being only a block and a half away, we can be overflow parking for that facility. And then we have two subset projects. We have the EV vehicle charging facility and also the EV charging bicycle facility. That's the next slide. But for this one, it's obviously a carbon reduction surface transportation block grant program that we've applied for with SCOG. Our EV charging station, 72 basic level 2 charging stations, 4 rapid charging stations, and 2 ADA charging stations. Our total parking capacity should be, I think I'm right on this number. Sometimes it changes a little bit as we modify things, but 269 stalls, and will be the largest charging facility on the I-5 corridor. And this is a picture of level 2. So what you have is everything in red is a charging station. Okay, we have one ADA handicap charging station up in the upper right-hand corner, and then regular ADA parking lots in the upper left-hand corner. Both of those are located coincident to the elevators. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, you see 5 excuse me, blue squares, and those are our EV charging bicycle lockers on this level. So this is a typical layout of how our EV charging is arranged in our parking facility. And then the EV bicycle charging facility, the picture with the green arrow is a bicycle locker. So we have bicycle lockers because I guess EV bicycles get stolen pretty easily. So the idea is that if you're going to charge your EV bicycle, you will put it in a locker and you kind of get a airport locker key for it, and then you come back for it when it's charged. But we have 9 of these charging lockers going into our facility, and again, it is a part of the carbon reduction. Well, it's kind of hard to say. I would say it's the transportation-related carbon reduction, because we actually have lots of carbon reduction in this building. So next project on the TIP is the 15th Street sidewalk improvements. This is a project we intended to do in-house. We still may do it in-house, but we're down to senior engineer, and so it will kind of depend on whether Dean and I have the capacity to do it. Otherwise, we may go out and bring this project out to a consultant to design. It is a fairly easy design to do. Basically, the east side of 15th Street in front of the hospital, and this picture is a good example where you see the wider sidewalk was done as a development requirement, and the existing sidewalk is about a foot, to some places 1.5 feet narrower than where it should be. So this will basically bring this up to ADA standards and give us a sidewalk on both sides of the street. Riverside Drive Improvements Project 2 and Riverside Drive 1, which will be the next slide, is our current under about 30% design. This will rehab the pavement on Riverside Drive from Skagit River Bridge. This one goes to College Way, and then the next project will go from College Way to Cedar Street, which is by the truck wagon. The biggest piece of this project is undergrounding all these utilities, PSC utilities, and getting rid of the ADA issues that are involved with those utilities. So it'll freshen up our corridor in the town by leaps and bounds, so I'm kind of excited about it. And here's Riverside Drive 1, basically the same project. We are designing both of these at the same time for continuity, but we'll probably phase the construction because the project's so large. 30th Street Improvements 1, this goes from Paul Place, but basically the one block past the Colshan Trail, so we get a good flight by the Colshan Trail. But basically Colshan Trail to College Way. This is a section where we really don't have very many pedestrian facilities. We also have periodic flooding in this area that kind of strains that community. So this will take care of the flooding, widen the road to a full multimodal. It will actually extend the bike ped path on Bakerview Park all the way to College Way as part of this project. So, and add transit facilities at the Colshan Trail end. The Blackburn Extension Road. So this is a project that was kind of in that last portion of the 6-year for a while. What we've decided to do is, and this is a proposal or a conceptual proposal at this time, to potentially do a 30% design sooner rather than later, potentially next year. This is a little bit of a difference between the TIP and the TIP. We move this forward in the TIP. Doesn't necessarily mean it gets funded in the CIP. Kind of depends on some decision making that still needs to happen. But this is an arterial section basically associated with the Eaglemont PUD, triggered by a certain level of development. They're supposed to build this, okay? And this is going to be a new arterial that basically parallels 2nd Street and provides that access to I-5. So this is kind of what GMA is all about, is as you approach a capacity, you're supposed to build new roads to provide parallel routes. So that's a good example of this. But the proposal to do 30% design potentially funded by the city is about $250,000. But part of what a 30% design does is get us a physical footprint on the ground and a very good estimate on what it's going to take for permitting, because generally you have ability to start into NEPA and SEPA after a 30% design. It also will give us kind of control of how we're going to access, because right now it's just conceptual. And if you give it to the developer, you kind of don't know exactly where the alignment goes. But it allows us to plan the alignment, plan our utilities, plan where PSE is going to go, those types of things, and plan how different properties can best access the road. So that would be some advantages of doing a 30% design now. It gives us that predictability, but it's something that takes a lot of consideration, because this really was due to be developer driven, but putting us in the driver's seat a bit has its benefits. And the other piece of this in the 6-year TIP, you'll notice I have the about $1 million of additional design for a road this long in the next year. That's really a placeholder. If we do a 30% design next year, the continued design could be 2, 3, 4 years out, or it could be right away. It kind of depends on how things develop after that. But 30% is a good stopping place. LaVenture Road widening. This is a project that is probably one of our top potential projects for TIB funding application this next year. This is a project that dovetails in with Hogue LaVenture Road signal that we're installing at the current time, but basically rehabilitates the pavement. On the east side, we haven't had property to develop to create the pedestrian facilities and frontage improvements that are normally required. And it's been years since that's happened. So that's what this does. That gets rid of the ditch, widens the road so we have a complete street standard, and adds those pedestrian facilities as a connectivity. Lots of it between the Sigmar Lane is where the college has their student housing. So between that and YMCA, we found gets a lot of traffic between those two, so there's some synergy there to proceed with a project like this. 13th and Broad Street signal. This is a new signalization proposal that was brought out to mitigate the increase of traffic with the new hospital facilities that are being built right now. And so as part of support for that, and we already have some developer contribution towards this project, but it looks like, I wouldn't necessarily say right away, but in a few years, we certainly could start triggering the need for a signal. And so that's what we're anticipating. River Dyke Trail System, this is a project we do have federal funding on, but we have actually, and this project will probably continue to get pushed out a bit because coordination right now, the dike district wants to raise that dike to be 3 feet of freeboard above the 100-year floodplain like we have our flood wall. And so until they, and right now they're going through a very long permitting process to do that. And so until they get that work done, there's not really a good reason to put a brand new trail on top of the dike. So this one will continue to get pushed to the next year until we can dovetail and coordinate with the dike district. 30th Street improvements too. This is another project of value similar to the LaVenture Road project. So this goes from First Street south to the Manito neighborhood. So basically you have this gap of sidewalk again, where you have a fairly well-rounded neighborhood to the south, both on 30th Street and Manito. And if they're trying to get to Bakerview Park to play Little League, there is no sidewalk for about a quarter mile. And so that's basically what this does, is widen the road, add curb gutter and sidewalk for those pedestrian facilities, and upgrades that section of road. And it's really the last section to get upgraded between Division and Fur. And the Fowler Trail connection. So the Fowler Trail project has been on the TIP for about 14 years now. And this is a project that basically makes a connecting trail behind Little Mountain Elementary School. We have a sewer line easement along there, so it's utilizing that easement. And then kind of zigzags a little bit past the plat, but tries to provide some access, multimodal access to both Blackburn Road and, in theory, eventually to Little Mountain, because that's the connection it would make. And then this, of course, dovetails with the Blackburn Road extension that we just talked about, and another project that is further out in the 6th year to connect the section of 30th Street. That's the TO206. That's up there just to show it has synergy with another project on the 6th year. So when that four-legged intersection gets completed, this trail project provides all the access to that. And then our last project we'll talk about tonight. So the Colshan Trail Safety Lighting Project was one of the first projects I did in the city, which was adding the street lights to Colshan Trail between Habitat for Humanity to 18th Street. So highly successful. People, we've had very good reviews of it. So I've added 3 more phases of that to the 6-year TIP. The reason why phase 2 is ahead of phase 2, so phase 2 goes from 18th to LaVenture. Phase 3 goes from, this project goes from LaVenture to 30th Street. And then phase 4 goes from 30th to Waugh. This particular section serves LaVenture Middle School from basically the neighborhoods on the east. A lot of them use Colshan Trail to get to school, and in the winter months especially, they're walking to school in the dark. So this is designed to, and this will also have a series of street lights in front of the on the north side of the middle school as well. So this will serve to light that. We'll do this first. The other 2 projects are on the contingency list with SCOG. So like we've funded Freeway Drive and a couple other projects, if there's an obligation gap, we may do all 3 phases at once. It kind of depends when those things pop. And then we're back to our list. So that's the end of my presentation for the public hearing. I just have the list up. If there's any projects folks have questions about or like to discuss.
All right, any questions for Bill before we open our public hearing regarding our TIP? All right, I think we we hear about it a lot every year, so it's not like there's a lot of change, but we appreciate the briefing on it.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
All right, I'll open the public hearing regarding the adoption of our 2024 to 2029 six-year transportation improvement program. Would anyone like to speak? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. I did want to acknowledge that Councilmember Morales is on Zoom, so Councilmember Morales, I can't see if you need to say anything, so just feel like you can chime in as needed. With that, any other questions for Bill? This is going to be a resolution. It would be Resolution 1039.
I'd just like to say to Bill, thank you for your presentation. I've sat through a lot of these presentations. It's probably the best one I've ever seen.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you paying attention to those sidewalk gaps and getting those taken care of. It's always been a concern, and as our population grows and our kids are trying to get back and forth to Little League or school, it's important to have those paths and those sidewalks there. So really appreciate your focus on that.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
I got one,
Okay.
just real
Yeah,
quick.
Gary, go ahead.
It can be just yes or no too. I think maybe you and IJ were talking about the Riverside. Are they gonna put trees down the middle of that road?
Riverside Drive?
Yeah.
No.
Because there was,
That's-
No
there
boulevard.
was a little bit of
That's what
discussion about that.
I
and
really thought would be amazing, but
Right.
yeah, no.
Okay.
One of the problems with Riverside Drive is it's really designed for, not designed as a boulevard, and you could do it, but you cut off access to more than half the businesses
Right.
along Riverside
Yeah,
Drive, and that's where a piece of that is.
All right. If there aren't any questions, I would entertain a motion.
I would move the adoption of Resolution 1039 to adopt the six-year transportation improvement program.
I'll second the motion just to test the water for the microphone as well.
Whoa,
Awesome
right
one,
on.
thank you. All right, that's then a motion by Mark and a second by Juan. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries, thank you. Thanks so much, thank you, Bill. All right, item B tonight is another hearing. This will be a closed record public hearing regarding Mount Vernon School District's LaVenture Middle School Master Plan approval. And Marianne Manville-Ailes from our Development Services Department is here to present this item, and Peter will help her with some slides. It's a little bit complication tonight.
Yeah, she's took us on that earlier. I have it. You didn't tell me to do that. But it was, yeah, it was on there. She'll be up at the top of the, on here.
Here comes Alex.
Here comes backup.
The Development Services. Okay. Yep. Weird.
Just when, yeah, zoom it, it makes it a little more, there we go.
There we go.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. There we go, all right.
Whew, it's
Marianne,
almost
take
like
it
more
away.
work than than it should have been. Good evening, Council, Mayor. I am here tonight to present, I think it's a great segue that the last project that Bill talked about was the LaVenture Middle School sidewalk. And now we're going to talk about the LaVenture Middle School master plan update. So it was kind of, we planned it that way. So tonight, we're looking for a motion to authorize the mayor to approve this, and what we're looking at is approximately 1,100 square feet, one-story addition to the LaVenture Middle School, and it will include classrooms, offices, and support spaces that are needed by the Mount Vernon School District. And the east side of the property, the LaVenture Middle School property contains a wetland complex and a fish-bearing stream. So here is the entire site. We're gonna toggle back and forth for a second between there. So you can see the new addition is down here, right in the corner. And if we go back to the other one, that's it's added on right to this piece right here. That's what we're looking at. And on the 18th of May, the hearing examiner held a public hearing and recommended to approve the application and the recommendation to council. And staff would recommend that you hold a closed record public hearing and approve the resolution with the conditions that the hearing examiner also imposed. And applicant, the school district, and their consultant are here tonight. If you have any questions for them, or if you have questions for me.
All right, so there is a more detail in the memo. Is there any questions for Marianne on this particular item before we open the record? The hearing. No questions. Okay. It's usually pretty straightforward. I'll go ahead and open the closed record public hearing regarding Mount Vernon School District's LaVenture Middle School Master Plan approval. Is there anyone of record that is interested in speaking? And seeing none, we'll close the closed record public hearing. I'll ask Councilmember Morales any questions on this.
Apologies, couldn't get to the mute button on time. No questions on my part. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, thank you. All right, then I'll be looking for a motion for approval of Resolution 1040.
We don't have any more questions, and I would like to authorize the mayor to sign the companion resolution approving the Mount Vernon School District for LaVenture School Master Plan, file number PLAN 22-0630.
All right, thank you.
Second.
Motion by Iris and a second by Gary. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item C tonight is the approval of an agreement with Skagit PUD. Again, this is Bill Bullock, our city engineer, will lead us in this item.
That's the right page. So thank you, Mayor. So I'll just read the memo into the record. Attached is the water services contract drafted to serve the Mount Vernon Library Commons project with potable water for the Skagit PUD, or for potable water from Skagit PUD. This is a standard contract to provide commercial water utility connection / hookup fee and the monthly usage rate. The service development fee is $42,840, appropriate for a 2-inch metered service that meets the calculated maximum daily demand and average usage for the Library Commons building. This contract is required to service the building with an account from Skagit PUD for potable water. That was shorter than I remembered.
All right, any questions for Bill on this item, water service for our Commons project?
I'd like to authorize the mayor to execute the water service contract with Skagit PUD for water for the Mount Vernon Library Commons project.
Second.
All right, thank you. Motion by Mary and a second by Melissa. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries, thank you. All right, and item D is an approval of an agreement with Strider Construction, and it looks like Bill's here for this item too. Bill, go ahead.
The wastewater treatment plant influent pump station, or IPS, was constructed in 1988 and designed for a 6 million gallons per day capacity, or MGD. Currently, during peak winter flows, these pumps are required to pump as much as 24 million gallons a day, which far exceeds the desirable range for their operating conditions. This results in excessive energy usage and accelerated wear on the piping. The upgrade to the IPS facility is essential to meeting the peak flow demand and eliminating the excess wear and tear on the existing pump facility during these peak flow periods. 3 bids were received on June 15th, 2023, ranging in price from $2,674,304 to $3,559,392, with a low bid provided by Strider Construction, all within funding budget. The Strider Construction bid was responsive and prepared in accordance with the contract documents. Construction cost estimate for this project was $3,600,000. Staff would recommend a motion authorizing the mayor to award the construction contract for the wastewater treatment plant influent pump station header upgrade to Strider Construction of Bellingham in the amount of $2,674,304.
Thank you. Any questions for Bill on this item?
And this is being funded through the enterprise fund for
Yes, sir.
sewer.
Correct? Yep. That's what my understanding is.
So I would move the council approve the agreement with Strider Construction.
Second.
Great, thank you. Motion by Mark and a second by Melissa. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for that, Bill. Thank you, Gary Durant's our plant manager, for being here for that too. All right, we have completed our scheduled agenda items. I will ask our city attorney if he would please call for an executive session and give details as to why and the time needed.
I invite the mayor and members of city council to enter into an executive session to discuss with legal counsel regarding enforcement actions, litigation, potential litigation to which the city, the governing body, or member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding such discussions is likely to result in either adverse legal or financial consequence to the city pursuant to RCW 4230-110 subsection 1I, and moreover, to discuss issues related to collective bargaining sessions which are exempt from the Open Public Meetings Act pursuant to RCW 4230-140 subsection 4. The time for executive session would be 30 minutes. We would reconvene after at approximately 27 with no final action after.
All right, thank you so much. We'll be then adjourned into an executive session at 7:58. Thanks. Wanda, if you